And so I'm walking back down the hall. I get in the elevator. I'm going up to the third floor. I'm wondering what's going on. I walk into the hotel room. There's my camera crew. There's a C-Think camera crew. I sit down. Tom Danheiser calls to have me go on the air. And right as I go on Coast to Coast AM, the alarm goes off. And I'm start thinking, wait a minute, they were getting ready for a test down in the parking lot. Security walked up to me and said, we were having trouble with people pulling fire alarms and trying to steal things. And so I get off the air with Coast to Coast, get cut off from doing the 15-minute interview. I only did about 5 minutes. I go downstairs. Everybody's out there with their luggage. You've seen the footage of this in the Obama deception. But we didn't have our camera rolling because they were telling us to turn our cameras off. We do have that on tape. When the same head of security comes up and he says, don't turn your cameras on again or I'm going to have you arrested and thrown out of the hotel. And I said, yes, sir. And I said it in a serious manner because I know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to back down. I just wanted to be there for the arrival of the Bilderberg when they shut the hotel down the next day and wanted to gather intel while we were inside. This is building up to something that's important. And he looks at me right in front of Jacobson and he says, Alex Jones, I'm going to F you up, and just grinds his teeth. So there was some attempt to set us up for the fire drill. But I think they ascertained that we were inside the room by then, and there was some type of setup going on. I'm not sure. Maybe they were trying to spook me because they knew they were already going to test the fire drill and test emptying out the building and test getting the fire department there. They were there in like 2 minutes. I don't know. I don't know to this day what that was all about. But then the next day, Bilderberg arrives. They shut the hotel down. I'm staying at another hotel. I'm staying at the Hyatt. And I'm sitting in the restaurant bar, and these two big cops come in. They kind of get in our group of people, and they lean over the table while I'm eating another hamburger, and they say, Alex, you want to attack the State Department with us tomorrow? And I pull out a video camera and start taping the guy. And boy, he really shuts up then. And I said, since when have I ever been violent? You guys know I'm not violent. You've assessed me. He said, I was just asking. I thought we ought to go over and infiltrate and get into the State Department and try to disrupt things from there. Later we learned it was State Department protection detail with the U.S. Marine intelligence and NSA and CIA and Secret Service, because Obama and Hillary were going to be there the next day. And they were ready. And you know what? That guy's probably not a complete criminal, him and his partner. Because if they were complete crooks, they would have just said, Jones then said he was going to attack the State Department. And I said, knock it off. I said, knock it off. I said, I've never been violent. Well, are you playing? And then he just came right out and like admitted he was a cop. He goes, well, you're not planning to infiltrate like you did Bohemian Grove. And I said, no, I'm not planning to try to sneak onto the grounds, okay? But I am going to be out there bullhorning. And I go, you guys have all been listening to our telephone conversations. You already know this. And a few days later, they called my wife up. I'm on the phone with my wife. It just ended. Bilderberg just ended. I'm eating at a steakhouse with the guys. A little celebration for the successful mission. And I call her, and I talk about some private family issues with her. And then she calls back crying 2 minutes later and said, a woman called and said, hi, I'm calling for Alex Jones. Is he there? And she said, no, can I leave a message? Well, who is this? Well, I'm his wife. And the woman said, well, that's impossible. We're getting married next month. I'm pregnant. And my wife started laughing and said, that's ridiculous. And then the woman said, listen, bleeper, I know this private stuff about your family that I just said on the phone. So it was the government. They were tapping my phones. It was very funny. And then they're so inhuman. They're so evil. They're so wicked. They're so corrupt. They're so hateful. They're so lawless. They would call a woman up who's not even involved in my operations other than some accounting and bring her into it. I mean, that's been a law of war. Even if I was an armed enemy, which I'm not, you'd leave my woman and my kids alone. And you know why they've always had that rule? because things get nasty if things get hot, and this turns into a physical war. Do you want your family and children targeted? I'm not saying I would ever do that. I'm saying once you start doing that, then it's fair game for a lot of people. There's a reason for thousands of years in every culture you don't mess with women and children. You don't mess with warriors, women, and children. And I'm not even a physical warrior. I'm a journalist, an info warrior. So it's not enough that you tried to set me up and send me to prison. Then you had to harass my wife. There's a reason we never tortured, because when our people get captured, we don't want them to be tortured. But every law of common sense and decency and honor is being violated. You guys are the 180-degree opposite of George Washington. Just get that through your head. You are 180-degree opposite. You are cowards that bring women and children in, just like Barry Cooper and his wife Candy taking their children because they ran a sting against Williamson County. You came and you took their children. They have their children because you wanted to win. You wanted to be tough. You wanted to punish people that exposed your corruption. And I could just go on with story after story after story of what these people have done and the dirty tricks they've tried and the way they operate. And the public is starting to really get wise to the fact that the government is criminal. Oh, but why they take their children? Oh, they taught their children not to trust the government. And then the government comes and takes the children. What do you think the children think now for the rest of their lives? What lesson do you think they learned from this? That mama and daddy told them the truth. Now, when we come back with all of that preface, I want to now warn the Tea Partiers, conservatives, libertarians, and gun owner groups. We caught them in Austin running a false flag against the gun show, staging fake arrest in there. Here's the latest. PrisonPlanet.com. Feds prepare to use anarchists to provoke Tea Party violence. This is coming up in the next 2 weeks. As I predicted, all the big anarchist groups are announcing it. They're all Ford Foundation funded. They are the enemy of America. Dan Winters, who's photographed, you name it, every major Hollywood star, every major president. He is listed by every index in the top 5 photographers in the United States. I didn't know he was a fan of the show until Texas Monthly, he lives here in Austin, had him do the photo shoot for last month's cover story. And he's going to be joining us to not just talk about Alex Jones and photography, but also all the wild experiences he's had behind the scenes with politicians and other folks. He's a great guy, and a lot of his friends and family are also supporters of the radio show. So Dan Winters coming up in the last hour of the radio broadcast today. Okay, a word to the wise is sufficient. They want to discredit the Tea Parties and anyone criticizing the Obama takeover. They politically, as Rush Limbaugh has astutely said, may even try to suspend elections. They know this is the biggest political suicide ever for the Democrats. They have the lowest approval ratings ever seen in history for the Congress or for a president this far into their administration. And he's losing percentage points every week. And those are even cooked polls. The numbers we're seeing show it's even worse. Liberals have woken up to the fact that it's not free health care, that it cuts their Medicare and Medicaid and doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. They're very upset. Conservatives are extremely upset and are aware of what's going on. And so they're going to stage terror attacks. They're going to stage riots. They're going to stage all sorts of events to make anyone who's pro-Second Amendment or pro-national sovereignty bad. That's what happened with the Hatari militia. I'll be getting into that later. No doubt now they did nothing wrong or were completely set up from inside. That's now admitted. But they're going to turn loose the Foundation thugs. In Police State 2, the takeover, I have their own local footage admitting they were trained at Foundation facilities in Oregon. They've been shipped all over the world. They show up and turn over trash cans, light fires, knock out windows, so that some are police, some are Foundation operatives, others are useful idiots that are brought in by them, who they then later set up, as a pretext for the riot police to attack the peaceful demonstrators and set the precedent for no demonstrations being allowed in the United States. They are now going to be turned loose on the Tea Parties. This is a red alert. A red alert. Again, this is a red alert. They are coming. They mean business. Anarchists were used to get World War I going. They've been used all over the world over and over again as a brigade. Now, there are some anarchist groups, and I even agree with some of the philosophy of extreme libertarianism and the smallest state possible. That's to be differentiated from regular anarchist. The feds always spin this, that Alex hates all the anarchists. He's saying you're all feds. I'm saying groups calling for clashes with the Tea Parties, groups calling for violence are Fed-run, Fed-influenced, or Fed-infiltrated. And that is an absolute fact, and we've got case after case after case after case after case. So this intelligence to all the Tea Parties and everybody out there is vital. Get it out to everyone you know. Feds prepare to use anarchists to provoke Tea Party violence. Red alert.